Hello, everyone. It's Andrew Parks. As promised, I am going to put together the solo play video. We're going to actually just play it live and see what happens. I have my friend Ada is working one camera, and we have another camera over there, so we'll hopefully have a little bit of two-camera action going on here. So, I've already set up the game for the solo play. I already have my teams selected. Normally, that would be a part of the game. You'd select your team. Um, this is not all the pieces of the game. This is just a small selection of the pieces that I chose for the solitaire. You can see the board frame here is very small because it's for one player. It gets much bigger as you play with 2, 3, and 4 players. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my heroes and I'm going to put them into the first opening room of the dungeon. But I will introduce them to you first. This is Bull. She is a warrior. And here is Bull's card. And you can see she has a human icon and 2 martial icons. So she is very martial. Put this token back on her. Here's the Bartholomew. Okay, we'll show you the figure first.
A little lower. There we go. There he is. Okay.
He is a gnome rogue. Okay. He has a little gnome symbol, and he has 2 little stealth symbols. So he is all about the sneaking around stuff. Next we have Melinda and her little fox, Spark. Got her?
Yeah.
Try again.
Sorry. No, yeah, I just wanted to see this fox a little bit.
Yeah, we got to show the fox.
Hold on, let me see the fox. Oh my god, he's adorable. Okay. All right, got him.
And then this is her card. Now, she is a gnome druid, so she has a little bit of synergy right away with Bartholomew because they're both gnomes. But then she has 2 primordial symbols, which means she's all about nature. So far all of these characters that we've shown that I selected actually are pretty specialized at what they do. Now we have Sonia, and she's a little bit of a mix in here. There she is with her bow.
Right there.
Okay, and then here's her card. Now she is an elf, so I don't have any other elves. That's what the first symbol is. And she has 1 martial symbol and 1 primordial symbol because she's a ranger. So she has a little bit of focus on fighting type powers and also on nature. So she's sort of a mix. And that also, what's nice about that is that gives me some synergy between her and Bull and Melinda because now they share some symbols. And the reason why I want to share some of my symbols is that even though my starting deck, which has 3 cards from each of these characters, none of these guys can use each other's starting deck cards. With the start of the game, it doesn't matter what kind of synergy they have. But once we get going, we're going to have an upgrade pile here. And in this upgrade pile, it's going to have cards that could be drafted of various symbols. If all of my symbols are different, I'm going to be able to draft all kinds of wonderful cards. But the problem is, if all my symbols are different, then when I draw a card for an upgrade, it's only going to work with one person. If all of my symbols are the same, then when I draft a card, it's wonderful because then all of my characters can use it. The problem is I'm going to get a whole bunch of cards that I cannot use because there's going to be a bunch of symbols that I don't have. So, with all that said and done, I have my characters. I have my starting deck. It consists of basically 12 cards, and it's 3 cards from each of the characters. So I just kind of shuffle these up. I form my starting hand of 6 cards. This is a prototype, I'd like to stress, so these pieces will be thicker in the actual game. The cards will certainly have round corners and will not be printed on 110-pound cardstock. This is just for my prototype. All of this stuff that you see here is just for the prototype. Even the miniatures, although they're the actual shapes, these are the Gray Masters, and they're printed on a resin, and the final ones will be printed on different materials. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at my hand, and because each character's card can only be used by themselves since they're starting cards, I put a little portrait of the characters up here so that I don't have to really pay attention to these when I'm first learning the game. So that's a Bartholomew card, that's a Bartholomew card, that's a Melinda card, so I can put her two cards together. And that's a Sonia card. So at the beginning of the game, I have one card for at least each of my guys, but I have two cards for Bart and two cards for Melinda. So that tells me, before I get to see anything else, what's going to be in the upgrade deck, what kind of tiles there are going to be to choose from, I have to now place my characters in the dungeon. I have to place one of them in the central square and the other three here such that their backs are facing the wall. So, because I have a lot of good stuff for Bart, and Bart's pretty fast, he has a speed of 5. If you look at his card here, he has 4 different stats, and everybody has those 4 stats. There's combat, there's attack, defense, speed, and health. And there's 2 different kinds of attack. There's melee and range, and you can see Bart has a sword, so that means he's melee. And defense-wise, there's dodge and armor, and he's a dodger. So that's why you have the picture of the guy, as someone put it online, doing a little matrixy thing and jumping out of the way. If it was a helmet, it would be armor. So, Bart's pretty fast. He has a speed of 5. None of these guys is particularly slow. All of my characters have a speed of 4 or 5. There are some characters that have a speed of 2 or 3. This group is pretty fast running around, which means they're not really a group of bruisers, because their stats are allocated to different things. Since I have good cards for Bart, good cards for him sneaking around and so on, I'm going to put him in a position where he's going to be able to move out pretty quickly. So I'm going to put him right here in the center. And the characters can also open up doors on the sides, and they can open up doors diagonally. So normally I try to keep my slow characters in the corners so they can open up these side doors and move around. My other character who runs at a speed of 5 is Sonia, the elf. So I'm going to put her over here. I have one character who's kind of vulnerable, and that's Bull. Bull, as you see here, she only has a 1 defense. So unless I have a reaction that's going to allow me to have her jump out of the way, she's going to get pounded on pretty hard. And I don't have any priests in this group or anyone with a celestial symbol, so healing is going to be a little bit of a chore. So I got to be careful for Bull. When I send her out, I'm hoping to have a card that will help her evade and so on. All right, so we're going to put Bull here just to protect her just a little in the beginning. Even though she's the tank, she has a lot of health. She has the most health of anyone. But until I have her evade card, and I don't have it in my hand, I'm going to try to keep her back a little bit. And then finally we'll put Melinda in the last spot. All right, now that I've made those decisions, I'm going to pull out the upgrades. So we have Slumber and Healing Herbs and Detect and Disarm and Reposition and Elusive. Now, when you're playing with 2, 3, or 4 players, if there's a card that no character can use, you would immediately discard it and draw a new one. But in solo, we don't do that, because otherwise I would pick a character who all had the same symbol. So in solo, I have to deal with the fact that there will be some cards that I simply cannot use. In this case, here's a card that I cannot use. It's called Slumber, and the reason why is that it has an eldritch symbol in the corner, that hand, and that means you need to have some kind of magic-using power. None of my characters have that. My characters are all stealthy and warriors, and they're into nature a lot. But they don't have any just raw arcane magic, nor do they have any celestial powers, which would be like what a priest would have. All right, the last thing I do to finish setting up is I put out the first 2 tiles so that I'm going to get to choose these tiles. Now, when you know the game really well like I do, you don't have to actually put the little creatures on these tiles until you open that door. So I'm not going to, but when I make my decisions, I'll show you the little monsters and why I've made the decisions that I have. The last piece are the solo play cards. Now these cards are going to be solo play. They're actually going to say solo play co-op now that we've created cooperative rules, because it's the same set of 16 cards. When you're playing competitively with 2 to 4 players, you don't use these cards. These cards basically are a type of AI for the game, but it doesn't just move the monsters around randomly. I actually have to make decisions about how the monsters move based upon the options that it gives me. This way, I'm always playing the game. I'm always playing the game when I'm moving my characters and when I'm moving the monsters. I'm always making decisions. So here's going to be my first solo play card, and I get to see what it is before I get started, so I know what I'm going to get into. Okay? I know from this card that this card is going to get removed at the end of the turn. Great, I don't have to worry about that. Now, if this was a card I wanted, that would tell me I better get a move on and get that card while I can. This card, being the next one, is going to be discarded. And when a card's discarded, you can still draft it, but it's a little bit more expensive. In fact, I can discard cards myself to get rid of ones that I don't want. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay, the next thing it's telling me is I'm going to have to choose the highest experience point monster. That's what that little plus means over that monster. And it has to be the highest experience ready monster. Not one that's been used already and has been flipped so that it has the red frame on it. And either that monster's going to want to attack an elf or someone with the martial icon. That's what the little slash means there. Or I can choose to have it attack anybody at +2. So either it's going to attack an elf or a martial person at +1 or anyone else at +2. I have to do one of those two. I have to choose one of the two of them. If I can't do either, let's say there's no monsters, then I have to go to the bottom. Okay? The bottom one tells me I have to take the highest experience point exhausted monster. That's why he has a little red frame around him. Ready him up again and have him go out and attack at +3. So that's going to be a dangerous situation if I have any monsters out, even if they've already attacked. So I have to watch myself. All right. Right, so this first card is up. We'll put it on this side so that it's always present there. See, I know what it means upside down. Normally I wouldn't play these cards upside down, but what the heck. So, now we're ready to begin the game. There's going to be up to 4 rounds in the game. My objective right now is to raid this dungeon and to use my characters to do as much damage as I possibly can. To try to wipe out all the monsters, try to open up all the rooms, get all the chests within those 4 rounds. Then it's going to be dawn and I have to leave. So, we'll begin. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my cards again, and I'm going to choose one of my characters to activate. I look at the monsters over there, I look at the kind of stuff that I have, and I say to myself, yeah, maybe I'm going to go for those wargs. Because their defense, yeah, that looks pretty good. All right, so I'm going to go for the wargs. I'm going to activate Bart. So the first thing I do is I just take his token and place it off of him. I can even flip it over to the red side if I really want to be sure. It's even possible I'll have to put it on the board if he has some sort of an effect that affects other people, other monsters. So I've activated Bart. Now, Bart has a speed of 5, so he can start running around and doing stuff. So I'm going to do 1 to have him walk forward. 2, he's going to open this door into this room. Little piece, stick it here. That was 2. Now we've got 2 wargs, and they always face the door. I could have put this on any way that I wanted, but I chose to do it here because I want to be able to get behind one of the wargs. Now, normally, if I was to enter this room, it would cost me 2 points to walk right now because this guy's next to me, and therefore it costs 2 points to leave a space that's next to him. But I'm going to play Slink. Slink lets me move through enemy spaces, but I can't end my movement in enemy spaces. And I don't pay any penalty for leaving a space that is adjacent to an enemy. So this is going to let me sort of slink into the room without too much trouble. All right, so I'm going to play that card, and I'm going to put it right underneath Bartholomew to show that he's played a maneuver. That's the type of card is he can only play 1 maneuver per round. So now he can actually spend his 3rd movement point walking right through this warg because he's slinking around. He's going to take 1 more movement, and then I'm going to flip him around. Yes, I have a warg at my back. I'll try to deal with him later. Why do I want to get behind that guy so badly? I want to get behind that guy so badly because I have a card in my hand called Stealth Strike, which gives me +2 when attacking an enemy's side and +3 when attacking its back. If I had put this tile in differently, both of the wargs would have been back here. I couldn't get behind any of them. So by putting it in this way, I've set him up for this, Stealth Strike. So I'm going to attack now. He has an attack of 2, +3 is 5. Most of the time in this game, you don't have to roll dice, but sometimes creatures have special powers. The card, even though we can see all of the warg stats, here's our little warg pal over here, by the way. Even though we can see all of his stats, his special power on his card is written on the card. And his special power is when defending, it's called Instincts. When defending, add +1 combat die to the Warg's dodge ability. So even though he normally only has a dodge ability of 1, I'm going to roll the die. The die has faces of 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, and 3. So he might get a big thing. Want to roll the die there, Ada?
Sure.
Roll it.
There we go.
Yep. Oh, she rolled a 3.
Awesome.
That's horrible.
Oh, that's
for me.
horrible. Oh, sorry.
That's not supposed to happen. Okay, so now this guy has a defense of 4. So I was also happy with my attack of 5, but now I'm only doing 1 point of damage. And he has 3 health, so 1 point of damage is not going to polish this guy off. Now I could do something called a burst of strength, which would allow me to put 2 cards face down here to get 1 more attack. And if that would kill him, I would do it. But Ada rolled a 1 in 6 chance of rolling a 3, so I'm kind of screwed, so I'm not going to waste my cards that way. So I'm just going to do my 1 point of damage. I'm going to take this little blue token and put it underneath the Warg. That shows he's taken 1 damage. Why do I have colored tokens under there? Because in multiplayer games, several different players can be attacking the same critter and doing damage to it, and then we'll check when it dies to see who gets the points or who gets the most points. So Bart did not have the greatest turn. He had a wonderfully planned turn, but in this case, the Warg is the only character in the game with that power, and Ada rolled a 3. Okay, so that is going to be it for Bart's turn. So now we move, that was hero activation. Now we move to monster activation. So I have to, according to our card, the first thing I do is, oh, by the way, if I had gotten experience points, which I didn't, because this guy lived, I'd now be able to buy a card. But I can't, so there you go. So this slumber card is getting removed from the game, because that's what it says to do here. And then this detect and disarm is going here, into the discard pile. And once it's in the discard pile, I can still buy it, but it'll cost me extra experience. Now I put out 2 new cards. We have Bash, which is for half-orcs. That's not going to help me at all. I've got no half-orcs. And Trickster, which is good for gnomes. And I've got 2 gnomes, so this might be a good card if I can ever get any experience points. All right, so that was the beginning of that card. Now I have to have a monster. So in case it's going to be one of the monster with the most experience points. They both have the same, so I get to choose. Attack either an elf, which would be Sonya, my elf over here, or someone with a martial symbol, which would be Bull or Sonya. And if not, it's going to attack at +2. So I looked at my hand a little more carefully before, and I'm actually going to do something a little crazy here, or what would seem crazy based on what I said before. And I'm going to bring this guy out. So I'm going to bring this guy that's not wounded. And he's going to move. He can move up to 6. He's very, very fast. So I have to move him into a position where he can attack someone. 1, 2, because he's next to Bart there. He's not going to be able to make it. That would be 3, 4, 5, 6. He wouldn't get close enough. So it's going to have to be this guy. Or otherwise I'd have to have this guy attack Bart at +2. So this guy's going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, right into the middle of the room. And he's going to attack Bull. Now he has an attack of 4 melee. That's why he has to get right up to her. And she has a defense of 1, which means normally she'd be sucking down 3 points of damage right now. However, what I didn't realize is I actually did have her reaction card in my hand. Evade. And that will add +2 to her defense. So now, instead of taking 3 points of damage, she's just going to take 1. So I played this card. A reaction is the only card I can play when it's not my hero's turn. Otherwise, if I had something that increased my defense, I'd have to have moved that character first. That's part of the strategy of which character you activate. So she's taken 1 point of damage. We'll take one of these little wounds. Okay, and we'll stick it on her. And now, this stays out for the rest of the round, which means she can't play any more reactions, but she has the +2 dodge defense. So she has a defense of 3 for the rest of the round. Now this Warg has moved. I'm going to flip him over. And that is the end of the first cycle. There are 4 cycles to each round. The second cycle, each cycle is hero activation and monster activation. So before we get there, I'm going to draw up my hand to 6 cards. Now I have this little Dungeon Alliance draft bonus chart. And based upon the number of cards that I've drafted into my deck, which at the moment is 0, it tells me how many cards I can discard and how many cards I draw up to. So at the moment, since I've drafted no cards, I'm limited to discarding only 1 card and then drawing up to a hand size of 6. So we'll put the little token back on there so I can keep track of that. I'm not going to discard any of these cards. I'm cool with these cards. So then I draw 3 more. Now we begin the second cycle, and I choose a character to attack with. All right, sometimes you got to think here ahead. All right, I'm going to activate Sonya this time, who's my elf character, elf ranger. She's going to do some tricky things. Now, she's going to, first of all, she's going to spend she's going to spend 2 points of speed to move here. And she has a card called True Shot. Now, normally when you do a ranged attack, you can only attack 2 or 3 spaces away. But with True Shot, it adds +1 to her ranged strength and lets her shoot up to 4 spaces away. All right, so that will give her an attack of 4 against that guy. And just to be safe, I'm going to scorn that warg. Because I'm scorning him, I actually take my character token and put it on him. And since he's been scorned, it means that if he attacks anybody else, he's going to have -2 to attack. He's that upset with me. Everyone else is just in his way. So he has to attack Sonya. Now, Sonya has an attack of 4. And I have to decide, do I want to play 2 cards face down? Because even though I can shoot this guy and kill him if Ada rolls a 0, I want to have better odds here. So I'm going to take 2 of my cards. It's a little risky, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to take 2 of my cards and put them face. They won't even go back into my deck until the end of the round. But I can only do this once per character per round to get +1 speed, +1 attack of any kind, or to remove a wound. So she's going to actually build herself up with a burst of strength up to a 5 attack. Normally, Bartholomew would be in her way. But the True Shot says that other characters do not affect your line of sight. Why is that important? Because this guy would get +1 defense because Bartholomew's in the way. But she's going to shoot right over his shoulder and into that warg. It's going to be very impressive if Ada rolls correctly. So Ada, roll for the warg. Okay. He has the same ability as the other. We want you to roll low, Ada. Low. Okay. And she rolls a 0. Well done, Ada. So he only has a defense of 1. She destroys him. So even though she scorned him, that's okay. He dies scorned. So this guy is dead. So we'll put him back over here. And we can look and see that he's worth 2 experience points, which is the number right in the center. And if 2 people had killed him, if 2 different alliances had killed him, I should say, which is impossible in solo play, then we would have looked on his card to see how we distribute it. In this case, both players would get 1 point. But for high point creatures, someone's going to get more points than someone else. So Sonya has, from a very far away distance, picked off that warg. And this I should have drawn here to replace this before. I actually should have drawn this to replace this before, too. There we go. So I got so much going on with the filming. Okay, so she's killed that person. And I get the 2 experience points. All right, so at the start of the game, I am to separate the experience point tokens into 2 different pools. So in a solo game, these pools are very small. So it's 8 in the first pool and 12 in the other. And the reason why I do that is that as points are depleted from those pools, it will tell me when to bring out the more expensive upgrades. So in this case, I've gotten 2 points. I'm going to take 1, 2, and I put them face up. Put them right over here. And these work as experience points that allow me to buy new cards. And when I spend them, I just flip them face down. And at the end of the game, my points are going to be the total number of XP I've got minus some other things based upon what the table looks like at the end for a solo play. So in this case, I've got these 2 points and I want to buy a card. I do this before I draw my new cards. And I'm looking at these cards over here. There's a lot of really good things. And I'm thinking that because I have no ability to heal myself right now, this Healing Herbs card, it requires 1 primordial icon, which means Melinda the Druid and Sonya the Ranger can both use it, and it's a healing card. This seems like an important thing to use. And it's going to go right into my hand, and I haven't used Melinda yet. So this is good stuff. So I'm going to take this card and I'm going to put this into my hand. Which one is my hand? This one. Okay. All right. So I've drafted this card. I take this experience point and I put it face down. I immediately draw a new card to replace it. That's a card for dwarfs, which I can't use, but I'm not allowed to get rid of it automatically. I'd have to get rid of it myself by discarding it instead of drafting another card, and maybe I could draw the card that replaced it. So right now I have 2 cards that I cannot use on the table here, and that's part of the solo play. So now I'm at 3 cards. I've drafted a card, so now I could discard 2 cards, and I could draw up to 6. I'm okay with these cards, so I'm just going to draw up to 6. So I'm going to draw the last cards that are in my deck right now. You can see your cards start to empty out of your deck over here. So you have to, that's part of the hand management of the game, is to try to make sure you can maximize. Each time you put 2 cards face down, especially early in the game when you haven't drafted a lot, when you're doing that, you're depleting the size of your hand. Right now I'm okay though, and I've got 6 cards. So I have to activate, I was supposed to move the monsters, but there are no monsters, except for this one that's exhausted, so I'm okay. So now that's when I'm supposed to look at this card here. So now we go to this part, and this tells me burn the card in the center. And that's very upsetting to me, because this is the Trickster, and this is a great card for gnomes, and I have to get rid of it. And then the second thing it says is I have to move a monster, but none of the monsters can activate because they're all exhausted. I can't do either of the things in this middle slot, so I must move on to the third thing. And this third thing tells me I have to put wounds on 2 of my characters. That's my penalty for not having a monster out there. So the game rewards you for having several doors open at the same time and be fighting a lot of monsters and moving things along. So, and not only do I have to put wounds on 2 of my characters, but these are green wounds. These are poison. These are very, very bad. They'll get worse. So you can see there's a lot of bad stuff happening to me in this game because it's solitaire and it's a little bit tougher. So I have to choose who the 2 characters are. I'm going to choose to put one on Bart, because he can take a lot of damage. And I'll put one on Melinda, because she's good at healing. Sonya is my elf. She is not good at healing. At taking damage, I should say. Alright, so now I have a couple choices here. I could attack this Warg with one of my characters, but I'm saying to myself, that Warg is exhausted. So he's not going to attack again this round. So I can either just polish him off and play it safe, or, since I'm looking at the next card here, I'm going to be in a lot of trouble if I don't have a monster to fight that can attack me. So I think I really, really need to open up another door and keep things rolling along here. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I have to decide which character I'm going to use. Now I have good cards in my hand for either Melinda or Bull. But I have a card I just drafted for Melinda, so that could be pretty nice. I think that's going to be the way to go. So I'm going to start off. I'm going to activate Melinda, who's over here with her little fox. And she's going to open a door. She's going to open the door to this room here with a goblin and a bugbear. Right? And she's going to open up the door that's right. She doesn't even have to move over there. She just has to spend her first speed point, and she has 4 speed points. So she spends that first point. We open up the door. And in there we have a goblin. He's a little wussy guy, but when he fires, he sometimes gets a really good shot in. And the bugbear. Now, both of these characters have an ability that they roll the die when they attack and add it to their total. So they both are extremely unpredictable. Now, the second card I'm going to play is an enhanced spell. And it's going to cost 1 of my points of speed for Melinda. I can spend a speed to play this card and then target either myself or an ally within 2 spaces. That person's going to get +1 to their attack, and their enemies are going to have -2 to defense no matter what kind of defense they have. Now, I could put this on Bull, but Bull doesn't have ranged attacks, so I haven't picked up anything that will give her a ranged attack, so I'm going to put it on Melinda herself. All right, she can't have any other enhancements on herself. So now, instead of having an attack of 2, as it says on her card, she has an attack of 3. I'm also going to play the card that I just drafted, and it's called Healing Herbs. It's also going to cost me a speed. Now I've spent 3 of my 4 points of speed. This Healing Herb is going to allow me to remove a wound token from myself or from an adjacent ally, and then draw a card afterwards. So Bull's right next to me. I could remove the wound from myself, but Bull can be a little bit more vulnerable at times. So I'm going to remove, although that's not poison, and Bartholomew is way too far away. So actually, I'm going to have her heal herself because she has a poison wound and Bull does not. So I'm going to remove that poison from her. All right, and that was the Healing Herbs, which we just learned how to do. And the last card she's going to play is her pet Spark. You see, he's not just window dressing. He can go and do stuff. In fact, even though she has no line of sight to this goblin, because they'd have to go through the door here, he has a symbol here that shows an eyeball crossed out, and that means she does not need line of sight to her target. She can just send little Spark out, and he can go do his damage. So I have to decide, he can go and easily make mincemeat of this goblin, but I'm really focused on that bugbear over there. It seems like he would be a really good person if I could take him down. He's worth 2 experience points. He has armor of 2 and 5 health, so I'd have to be able to do a lot of damage to take that guy down. But I think if I combine forces, now normally you can only attack once, but Spark's text specifically says it's a free attack that does not count as my 1 attack for the turn. So I am going to send Sparks out. He has a 4 attack. This guy has a defense of 2, an armor defense of 2. Spark can attack someone up to 3 spaces away. So with his 4 attack, Spark is going to do a total of 2 damage. So we're going to put these 2 underneath him. But that didn't count as Melinda's only attack. Melinda actually can attack with her bow, which has an attack of 2. But because she's using Eagle Sight, it gives her an attack of 3, and it allows her to ignore his armor. So that means all 3 damage is going through to that bugbear. He is toast. Okay? Now, normally these pieces won't be quite as thick, but this is what I have for my prototype. It's kind of fun to have this big tower of guys walking around here. So she has by using her fox and her eagle sight, she has just managed what she needed to do in order to kill this bugbear. So he's dead. We put him back, and I get 2 experience points. In the same pool as before. So I have this experience point, which I can't spend anymore, and I've got these 3. All right, before we move on to the monsters phase, I can draft a card. Now, when I look here at what's going to happen this turn, both of these cards are going to go away. That's good for me with this one. This card's pretty good. I think because I don't have a tremendous amount of healing, I think the card that I'm really interested in is this other reaction card. This is elusive. It's another reaction, and it's good for gnomes and dwarves. Now, I don't have any dwarves, but I have 2 gnomes. So I could actually, that card I have for Bull, which only works for her, this card will work on Bartholomew or Melinda. So this seems like a pretty nice card to have, especially because I know there's a goblin who's going to be coming out soon, and I can sort of take this to my advantage. So I'm going to take this card, and this is the one that I'm going to draft. Now, normally I would draw up the 6 cards again, but because I've played so many cards face down and it's so early in the game, there is no card in my deck. In other words, if I had a discard pile, I could shuffle it and draw from the discard pile after shuffling it. But I literally have no cards left in my deck or discard pile because it's still early in the game, and I did this, which can be quite painful when you do a burst of strength. So, Melinda has had some fun. She's done her thing. She killed that guy. We replaced that card. This new card is used by humans, which Bull is a human, so she might be able to use it. And now it's time to activate the monsters. So the first thing is this reposition card, which I kind of liked, is going away because this card tells me that the top 2 cards, the second and fourth cards, are getting taken from the game. This is to keep me from leaving a card there until I feel really happy and safe. It's to give me that sense of tension during the game, during solitaire. Okay, then these both get replaced. Then it says, let me just read it first here, Ada, before I show it to you. It says the highest XP monster either attacks the person who has the lowest defense or attacks anyone else at +2. So, Bull's evade is still in effect, and it takes that into consideration. So she still has a 3 defense. And Bart, he has a 3 defense, so he's totally fine. And by the way, if I was unable to do any of these things, if I hadn't opened up another room, the penalty would be one of my characters would now take 3 damage. So it's good that I've made sure that there's at least an enemy left, because the idea is I always want there to be something out there putting the pressure on my characters. And that's part of the planning of the game. So now Melinda has a defense of 2, and Sonia has a defense of 2. So I know the card I just drafted. This card is not in effect yet. So Melinda only has a defense of 2. I know I have her elusive card in my hand, but I'm not going to tell that to the goblin. So I get to choose who he attacks. Now, when you have a ranged attack like the goblin, he has a little bow here that tells me that you can't shoot someone who's right next to you, so he has to shoot at some kind of range. So he's going to move. He's got a speed of 5. He's just going to go 1, 2. Now, in order to be able to hit Melinda, I have to be able to draw an invisible line from the center of his space to the center of her space without crossing any walls or closed doors. So she's just able to shoot right through that little entranceway there. Now, he has an attack of 2. She has a defense of 2, but he also gets to roll the die because he's got something called wild shot, and he might get lucky. He's a terrible shot. Okay, in the picture, he doesn't even have the arrows on the correct part of the bow. So, Ada, you get to roll for the goblin.
All right.
To see how he does. She rolled a 0, so I didn't even have to impress everyone with my elusive. He missed, and now he's exhausted. All right, so that ends that's the 3rd cycle. And so now we're going to move on to the 4th and final cycle. My only character who hasn't moved is Bull. So I'm going to flip this so I can see what's going to go on here. Well, I can see right away that the highest experience point exhausted monster is going to get ready. So I can no longer say, oh, I can just ignore that warg, because somebody is going to come back to life here, if possible. All right, so now I have to select Bull. There's no real option there. And so when I select Bull, I have to decide what she's going to do. I have a couple of good cards for her. First thing I'm going to play is her stamina card. This is going to give her +1 speed, so instead of having a speed of 4, she's going to have a speed of 5. And I can remove a wound from her. So it's a good thing I didn't heal her with Melinda, because she's a tough barbarian. All right, so now she's got a speed of 5. I have a card called Slash that will let me attack 2 creatures at the same time. They just have to be adjacent to me. So this seems like a good thing. Of course, if I use Slash, then there's going to be no monsters, and I'm going to get hurt. I should have pulled this guy up here, of course. So I always have an option of 2 things. Or I could ignore these 2 guys and just go into a completely different room and start slashing away at things. That's going to be a lot of wounds that I'm going to take from that card if there's no monsters left. It's going to be 4 wounds total. So I'm thinking, should I go in? There's a zombie room there, and I can really just kind of clean up a couple of zombies. And then I just have to worry about fighting some zombies who aren't that tough. They're just hard to kill. I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to open yet another room, because look, I got to explore this whole place. I don't have a lot of time. I've got 4 rounds. We're at the end of the 4th round. I got to make things happen here. So I'm going to send Bull out. So Bull, she's going to spend 2 points to move here, because this warg is sort of keeping an eye on her. Then she's going to open this door into the zombie room. Just trying to think. I get to position it however I want. Now, if I was putting it in a way like this, so that the door was facing a wall, that would be called a locked door, and that's not easy to open, especially for Bull. Bartholomew, not a big deal. So I'm going to have her just go in like this. So that's going to cost a speed point to do that. So now it costs her 2 speed points to walk here. We've got a bunch of zombies out there, so let's put them out. You may remember these guys from the video. They were beating up poor Crom.
Wait, let me see. No, it's fine. Hold on. I can't back up a little bit. I want to see what it looks like. Oh, God. Okay.
Okay, so it costs her 2 movement just to walk. 1 movement to open the door. That's 3 of my 5 movement. I really want to enter that room because I'm melee. I have to attack people who are near me, and I want to slash into those. So normally it would only cost me 1 to move here, but I'm still technically diagonal to this warg, which means even though he's exhausted and it can't lunge at me, he's still a danger, and I still have to deal with him. So I'm going to have to spend 2 speed to move away from him again. And normally I wouldn't have enough speed to do that. The good news is I played stamina, which gave me 5 speed. So now I have spent all of my speed on Bull. And finally, I'm going to slash. She's already got an attack of 4. She's one of only 2 characters in the game that has an attack of 4. And so she's going to swing. She now has a 5, and she can hit 2 people. Each of these goblins has 1 armor and 3 health, which means I get past the armor and kill it, and then since I played slash, I kill the other. So Bull kind of runs into the room and slaughters 2 zombies. And because of that, we earn 2 victory points. So we'll put these little guys back. You can see this is already starting to deplete over here. Okay, ooh, and I cheated before because I bought a card and I didn't pay for it. All right, now I can buy another card. And there's a lot of cool options here. I know that none of these cards are going to go away right now. But I'm seeing this Helm of Guidance. Now, normally the heroes never roll dice when they attack. They just use cards. Any of my characters can use the Helm of Guidance because it's a treasure. And if you look up here, you'll see over here, it has a little gold universal symbol up in the corner. And that means that anyone can use this card. But it's more expensive. It's going to cost me 2 experience points, so I'm going to spend them. The reason why I'm interested in this is that not only can it boost one of my character's attacks, it also specifically says whenever you and or your pet attacks this turn. So this can actually help Spark. And normally when Spark attacks, he has a little symbol up here that says, I can't boost him with anything. But the little asterisk means, but I can boost him with something if it specifically says it boosts pets. So the Helm of Guidance specifically boosts pets. So that seems like a good card to have right now because he can help me with Spark or with one of my other characters. So I'm going to take this Helm of Guidance, and it cost me 2 experience points. Then I replace this card. Now, even though I just drafted a new card, I'm down to 3 cards. The good news is at the end of the round, which we're going to see in a second, all these are going to come back in my deck, and I'm going to be able to draw up again. So at the end of the round, you should be able to get back up to your full amount. Now, it's time for the monsters. Now, normally I'd just be dealing with a couple of wimpy zombies here, and they would not be a problem. They're very slow, and Bull is evading and all that. But we're getting a challenge here because the very first thing that's going to happen, as we said before, is the highest experience point exhausted monster is going to become ready. Okay, our 2 monsters are the Goblin and the Warg, so the Warg is the 1. So we flip him over, and he is feeling just peachy. He's ready to go in again. And either, just like the last card, he's going to attack one of my lowest defense characters. In fact, I have to use him because he's now my highest experience point ready monster. He has to attack. Or he has to attack someone else at +2. So now I'm going to do the trick that I almost did with Melinda before. If I had played Melinda's card before, then she'd right now have a defense of 4, and she would not qualify as my lowest defense character. But right now, she only has a defense of 2. So the Warg is going to attack her with a 4 against her 2, which would be 2 damage. But she's going to be elusive because she's a gnome, and she's tricky that way. And so she takes no damage. She has outsmarted this Warg. And because we were able to do something in the middle part, I can ignore the bottom part, which was wound 2 of my characters for 2 damage. Pretty bad stuff. Now that has ended the first round of the game. And we've opened up a good deal of the tiles, so we're doing pretty good. We still have a lot of monsters left on this table, and many more to come. So we're going to have to be careful here. We also got another one of these tiles out. All right, so with all that said and done, we have to do a couple of record-keeping things at the end. Very, very short. The first is all of the characters get their little tokens back so that they're ready again. And all of the monsters who are exhausted, they're ready again too. Anyone who has been poisoned is now feeling a little worse off. So Bart still has his poison on him. Doesn't matter how much poison he has, he just takes 1 more. So now Bart has 2 damage out of 8. So not too bad, nothing to start panicking over. But he's feeling a little sick. Okay, the next thing that happens is all of the cards that I've played beneath my characters now get discarded into my discard pile. Like that. They're just face up in the discard pile. And if I happen to be below my hand size, right now I've drafted 2 cards, so my hand size is still 6. Or did I draft 3 cards? How many cards did I draft, Ada?
3?
Yeah, I drafted 3. So I actually have a hand size of 7. So I can draw 5 more cards. It's the end of the round, so I can then shuffle this. Now, if it was in the middle of a turn, I could shuffle this too. That's not a problem. But I can't normally do this outside of my turn. But at the end of the round is a special case. So I put them back here, and now I draw 5 more cards. Okay, and that's it for the end phase. And that goes really, really fast once you've done it once. So now we begin the second round. I take a look at my hand, and I see who I've got cards for. So I'm going to show them to you, just so you have an idea. So I've got 2 cards for Bart, 2 cards for Sonia, 1 card for Melinda, 1 card for Bull, and 1 card that anyone can use. So this is my hand of cards right now. My set. You see, I've been rewarded for drafting cards. So now I'm up to 7 cards. I have in my hand 2 cards that go for Bartholomew, 2 cards for Sonia, 1 card for Melinda, 1 card for Bull, and 1 card that I drafted, so it doesn't have a portrait here. And I have to look at this symbol. And the symbol here says it's the universal symbol. So any of my characters can use the Helm of Guidance. So with that in mind, I'm going to take a look and see what's going on here. There's a big ogre in this room. I might want to take him down. Of course, I'm completely surrounded by enemies over here, so I might want to probably take care of some of those guys. Now, one nice thing is if you start your turn off and you haven't moved, you can make 2 attacks. But unfortunately, I don't have anyone who's in a great position to do that right now. So I'm probably not going to do that. We have to check and see. So we've had 4. We're going to check and see what's going to be going on during the round later. So, and there's no one exhausted, but they're going to be looking for warriors and priests this time. I don't have anybody's defensive cards in my hand. So I'm going to have to keep that in consideration. So it seems that what I probably want to do is either go after somebody really big or finally take down this warg. I have a lot of good stuff for Bartholomew. He might be able to go fight that ogre who's in this room here. I've actually got to get through these rooms, so there's that. I could get him. I'm not going to get behind him, though. He's off in a corner. There's no way I'm going to be able to really get behind him. I could if I went in. Yeah, no matter how I could if I went in here. Then I'd have to go through a secret door. That would be difficult. I think I might be able to do it, though. I see. I'm going to wait, though, with that. I'm going to clear out some of the trash that's going on in these rooms here. I'm going to leave Bart in that position, and we're going to try to take down that warg. So, I'm going to use Sonia. I'm going to activate Sonia. And she is going to move 1, 2, 3, 4. She has a speed of 5. Spinning is free. Actually, I'm going to take that back again. She's going to go... First thing she's going to do is she's going to do some scorning again. She's going to scorn one of these zombies. She's really going to get them upset. Okay, now these zombies are really slow, so this is a pretty good guy. So I've scorned a zombie. That means that zombie has -2 attack if he attacks anybody but Sonia. So we're going to do that before we take off. All right, he's upset at her. Then she's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And she's going to play Running Shot, which is one we didn't get to see her play last time. This will give her +1 attack, and she'll get to move again after she attacks, which normally you cannot do in this game. So now she has an attack of 4 with her bow. I could give her the Helm of Guidance just to make sure that Wolf dies, that Warg. But I'm going to hope for a little bit of luck this time, because I've got a 5 against his 1. He's already wounded. I don't want to waste too many resources on him. So she's going to take a shot at that Warg. She has a 4 to his 1, but Ada's going to roll again for that Warg. So Miss Ada, let's see how he does. She rolled a 2. That's challenging. That puts him at a 3. So I think he is actually going to live. Ada. Okay, so that's a 4 attack. Now, if I had wanted to anticipate more, I could have used the helm. I could have put 2 cards face down. But once my turn's over, it's too late for me to do those things. Now it's the Warg's turn for defense, so I can't do those things anymore. So that being the case, I have a 4 attack. He has a 3 defense. So this Warg has only taken 1 damage. He has 1 health left. He is a very resilient Warg. All right, so that was my attack. It would have been really nice to kill that guy right there. It would have been really, really nice, Ada.
Sorry.
Okay, but she can keep moving now. She can keep moving because I played running shot, so she can use her full speed points again. So she's going to do that. She could even open a door. I don't know if that's a good idea. She could open up the secret door leading to that ogre. That might not be a bad idea. She doesn't have a lot of health, though. Maybe that's a scary idea. Let's see. Now I gotta think. I'm gonna take a look at this ogre. He has a speed of 3. He's not particularly fast. So maybe she can open the door and run away.
Wait, where's the ogre?
This guy right here.
Okay.
He's very slow. So I'm gonna take a chance. She has all her movement again. 5 movement. So actually, if I just open the door normally with her and run away, then the ogre's going to have to start running after her, and that will present his back, potentially, to Bart. Or he's going to go for Bart. Okay, I like this. This is going to be my strategy. She's going to go, 1, walk over here. Normally, you cannot move after you attack, but she's an elf ranger. She's got all kinds of tricks up her sleeve. I'm going to open this door for 2. Now, there's a challenge in this room. I don't know what it is. Could be a treasure, could be a trap. If I just walk in there, I'm going to spring it. I could search the room if there were no monsters there, or if I had a character that could do that. Actually, Bart can, but I don't have his card that does that right now. So it's dangerous to walk in that room. Who knows what could be in there? And the ogre's over here facing her. That was 2. She has 3 more points of movement. She wants to get away from that ogre, and she also wants to stay away from this zombie who she kind of angered before. So she's going to go back again. She's going to go over in this corner. Play it safe. She knows the ogre can't get to her there. So that's good. All right. That was Sonia's turn. I still have 2, even though I didn't get any experience points, I still have 2 left over from last time. So I can take a look here and see what I might want to grab. A lot of these cards I cannot use now, interestingly, but one of them I can with Sonia. Now this becomes a tough risk. I could take a card that only Sonia can use. It's a really nice card, but I've already used Sonia, so if I get it in my hand, I'm going to have to discard it, and now I'm not as efficient as if I could pick up a card right now that somebody else could use, and then I get to use it this round instead of waiting until the next round. All right, so I could get... This is a great card for her. Now, it's not going to go away right now. I could take a chance and wait till later to get it. I can only draft 1 card. I think because Bartholomew's filled with poison, it might be a good idea to get that potion of healing. That seems like it's pretty smart. It's only once per game, but then I get a face-down experience point after using it. So I think this is the right move because I am not exactly swimming in healing options here with this group. If I had taken a priest or something, this is great retribution card. There's some really, but that's not the team that I chose. So I'm going to spend one of my leftover XP that I still had. I've only got 1 left now. These are, of course, going to be for the end of the game. And I'm going to take this potion of healing. It costs 1 experience point. And remember, it goes right into my hand. That's part of the strategy. If I had taken the card for Sonya, it would go in my hand, and I'd have to discard it, and it wouldn't help me. I replace it here. Now, at the end of my turn, because I've drafted another card, I still have the ability to discard 3 cards and draw up to 7. I am pretty happy with this hand in general. I've got 6 cards now because I just drafted one. So I'm just going to draw 1 more card up to 7. And now it's bad guy time. The first thing is, similar to before, this is not going to happen. The highest experience point exhausted monster is going to turn ready. None of these guys are exhausted, so I can't do that one. The second part is the highest experience point monster. In this case, it's the ogre. The highest experience point monster is going to attack either a warrior or a priest. That's what those icons are there, at +1. Or anyone at +3 if he's a ranged attacker, which he's not. So I could really have him attack anyone. But I have miscalculated here pretty terribly, because that ogre is the one I have to activate. And if he can't attack someone, I have to do the bottom part. He only has a speed of 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay? So he will be exhausted, which is good for me. That means I'm not going to get attacked by the ogre. But that means that he didn't get to attack. Because of that, I have to deal with the bottom. And the bottom in this case means I have to discard 3 cards, and my hand size is -3 at this point. So that's bad for me. Because that means all of my planning ahead is going to really hurt me. I have to be very, very careful now. So I'm going to discard 1. I'll be able to get them back later, but it's going to be rough stuff for now. I'm going to discard 2. And this is a really tough call. I'm going to get rid of this card that I really love. But that's my penalty I'm dealing with. And I don't get to redraw up from that. I get to redraw up from the next cycle, but that basically not until my next time I move a hero. So that was pretty punishing for me, even though I didn't take any damage. But at least none of my guys got beat up, which is always a good thing. So that was the first cycle. Now the second cycle, I'm going to choose a character. I've only got these 4 cards. I'm definitely going to choose Bart, because I very carefully kept these cards for Bart. So I'm going to activate Bart. The first thing I'm going to do is he's going to drink a potion of healing. No big surprise there. So he has a speed of 5. It's going to cost him 2 speed to drink this potion. And he's going to down it, and it's going to let him remove up to 3 wound tokens. So all his poison is gone, which is good. Now I want to get him behind that ogre. And normally it would cost me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to move behind that ogre. But since I've already spent 2 downing a potion, I only have 3 left. So normally I am not going to be able to get behind that ogre. But the reason I chose Bart is I've got Slink again. I can actually run right through his legs. 1, 2, 3, and I'm right behind him. The bad part is I've now entered this room, so I've taken a chance because I've triggered that challenge. So let's see what's going to happen. If it's a treasure chest, great. If not, it's going to hit me. I could have tried to disarm this if I had the right card or if no bad guys were around. But there's bad guys all over the place, and I don't have his card that does this. So I'm going to flip it over, and I lucked out. It's a treasure chest. So that's good news for me. I can just ignore it for now. That'll get me experience points later when I have time to get it, but I'm out of speed now. I spent all the last of my speed. Spinning around is free. So I spin around. Now I'm going to attack that ogre in the back with my stealth strike, which gives me +3 to my attack. So that's going to give me a total attack of 5. He has 2 armor, so he's going to take 3 damage. He's still alive because he has a 6 health, but I got him down to half. Now, strategically, it was a good card. It was the right set of cards that I had, but it wasn't necessarily the smartest thing for me to do because the ogre was exhausted. I didn't have to worry about him attacking for the rest of this round. So I could have had Bart go and attack someone else, but that ogre is worth 3 points. I want to get a good start in on him, and my characters are no longer wounded, so I'm taking a little bit of a chance here. All All right, so he's done his attack. I didn't get any experience points again because I didn't kill anybody. I could buy something that costs 1 experience point over here. I'm going to grab this Farsighted now because I'm going to draw a bunch of cards from my other characters. Even though it's only usable by Sonya, I'm going to grab it anyway because I think that it can help me later on. It's a very, very good card for Elven Archers. So I'm going to flip this last, my last experience point I have to spend. And a new card comes here, and then I draw up to my hand size of 7. Well, actually, I can discard cards first, and I will do so. I can discard up to 4 cards now, but I'm only going to discard this one because I know I can't use it. So now I'm going to draw 6 cards. All right, so I've got a whole bunch of new options here in my hand. So what I'm going to do is the monsters still have to attack. That's going to happen now, actually. I have to deal with that. All right, so, what do you know? Maybe I wasn't so dumb to attack that ogre because I forgot that this says the highest XP exhausted monster. This is like the other one that we had. Or is this, did we not draw? Oh, we didn't draw the new one, Ada. We have to draw the new one.
Oh, okay.
Oh, but it has the same symbol at the top. So the ogre, who we thought was too tired, he just got really angry that Bartholomew stabbed him in the back. So guess what he's going to do? He's going to become ready again. And he's my highest experience point ready monster now. So he either has to attack a half-orc, which I don't have, a character with a primordial symbol, that would be either Sonya, whoops, he can't get to her, so he'd have to go, or he attacks someone else at +3 if he's a melee attacker, which he is. That would be an 8 attack. So that would be very, very foolish. So I can either have him turn around and just pound on poor little Bartholomew for 8, which would give him 6 damage. That would be not smart. Or I can have him attack someone with a leaf. The only person he can attack with a leaf is Sonya, because Melinda is too far away and he isn't particularly fast. So basically, Sonya's going to have to take one for the team here. So he's just going to walk forward. Okay, attack her for 5. She has a defense of 2. I have nothing for this poor lady. She's taken 3 damage. And she only has a health of 6. So that's why I'm always trying to protect her from harm. My other character is a little hardier. So Sonya is halfway to unconsciousness right now. So, bang. That was her. So that finished that cycle. Now we start the next. We have 2 more cycles to this round. I have Melinda left, and I have Bull, and I have all kinds of enemies out on the table here. I don't have the greatest cards for Bull, unfortunately. This card here is probably a really good Bull card. It's her slash. I just don't have it, and it's a good card for her to attack all those zombies that are near her. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Melinda. Far can she get? Not far enough to heal, unfortunately. She has healing herbs. She would love to run and heal Sonya, but she just can't get adjacent to her. She only has a speed of 4, and if this warg had finally died, he wouldn't be terrorizing me. I could just run right in there. But this warg is here, and he's tremendously slowing me down. In fact, I can't even attack that warg with Melinda until I move away from him, because I can't attack someone who's right next to me. Which means I have to run in right next to that goblin there. And I think that's what I'm going to have to deal with. We are going to kill that warg this time. I'm confident. Very confident. So I have a speed of 4 with Melinda. It's going to cost me 2 speed just to move away from that warg. So that's what I'm going to do. It's going to cost me another speed to play my eagle sight again, just like last time. And once again, I don't want to play it on Bull because Bull doesn't have a range attack. It would be good to help Bull ignore people's armor, which is nice, but it wouldn't give the range bonus. So I'm going to play it on herself again. She's going to give herself the old eagle sight. See, this is a great synergy. This eagle sight would be great for me to give Sonya. But my 2 archers have never been standing near each other, and that's my fault. Because this would be a wonderful card for Sonya to really take someone down. All right, so there's the eagle sight. Oh, what I wouldn't give for that Helm of Guidance, which I Do not. It's in my discard pile. That would be really nice right now. All right, well, let's start by just shooting that warg. So I have an attack of 2, 3. He has -2 defense, which means even if you roll a 1 on that die, he's going to end up with a 0. If you rolled a 3, he'd have 2. I'd still kill him. So I'm not going to put any cards face down. I think he's dead, finally. So I'm going to attack him now. I have a 3 attack. He has defense right now of -1 plus that die roll. Because I have Eagle Sight. I don't miss. This is Melinda.
Mm-hmm.
She's tough. Roll it, Ada.
So you say.
So Ada rolled a 0, so he is quite dead. Finally, this guy's got arrows and sword marks in him all over the place. So he dies, and we put him back, and I get 2 more experience points. And look, I've drained the pool, Ada. The first pool.
There you go.
Because I've drained the first pool, I immediately take this deck of cards and put it... Now, these cards stay. And now I take the level 2 cards. Give them a good shuffle. So now whenever I draw new cards from there, they're going to be more expensive, but they're going to be more powerful. That gives us that sense of progression during the game. All right, so that was 2 points I gained for that warg. But I'm not finished yet with her, because even though normally you can only attack once, see, I still have Spark. Spark the Fox. And he's hungry, and he attacks with melee anyone within 3 spaces of him. So he has a couple of... He could definitely kill that goblin. I wonder if he could kill the ogre. I don't think so. He definitely could go 1, 2, and attack the ogre. Even though she can't see the ogre, Spark has a symbol that says that she doesn't have to see the ogre. She just sends him out. He'd have an attack of 4. He would do 2 damage to that ogre. That ogre would be alive. I can't play 2 cards face down for Spark. That's one of the penalties. I don't have the Helm of Guidance because I discarded it. That was a bad call. That was a very bad call. So with that in mind, he's just going to satisfy himself on a goblin. Goblin only has a 0 defense and 2 health. That is 1 dead goblin. So he goes over here, and I get another experience point, this time from this pool. When that pool runs out, then we're going to switch this for the 3rd. These are all artifacts.
Okay.
And then we can start taking XP from the general pool. But for now, we're only going up through... only working on the 2nd pool. And then the general pool is not going to run out. So you can keep getting the points. It just means we know we're getting closer towards the end of the game as we're getting through the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th rounds. All right, so I have 3 points. Let's see what I want to buy. Let's see. There's some. Now, this is still for half works. That's no good for me. That's no good for me. I don't really need... This is really nice for speed. I don't have a particularly slow group. I've only got 1 human. So I'd actually, since I've got 3 points, I would love to get a new card. So I'm going to show you a rule that I haven't done before, and that is, as long as I have enough points to buy a card, I can choose to discard it for free. I don't have to actually spend the points. Draw a new card, but then the only card I'll be able to draft will be that new card. So I can do this to sort of spite people, but if I'm being spiteful, I have to know that I don't want any of the other cards. And it doesn't remove it completely from the game. What it does is it puts it in the discard pile, and someone can buy it at -1. But in this case, there's no one else to buy it because we're playing solo. So I'm going to get rid of this Retribution, which is for priests. I have no priests. Since I have enough points to buy it, it costs 2. We can get rid of it. We flip the new card. This new card is Touch of Death. This is a really exciting card. First of all, it costs 4, which is more than I have. But more importantly, it has to be used by monks. A monk is someone who has a celestial symbol, like a holy symbol, and a stealth symbol, like a rogue. I don't have any characters that do that. So this card's another unplayable card. And that's totally fine. Notice there's no line separating those. You actually have to have both of those symbols. If it were the case that I only needed one of those symbols, then Bartholomew could use this and do the great Touch of Death. But for this particular powerful card, you have to have someone who has both of those symbols. And that would only be a monk, and I don't have any monks. So it was exciting. I can't now go back and draft one of these cards. because that's the penalty for putting something in the discard pile. All right. So, now it's the bad guy's turn. And we should have flipped this card up so we know what was going on. But we didn't. So we're actually penalizing ourselves. Ah, here we go. We haven't done this in a little while either. These are all mistakes I'm making, sorry. You would think as the designer I would know what I'm doing. So this one says, remove this tile from the game. So this is so that I don't always know what the tiles are going to be, because when you play the regular game, someone might take the tile that you wanted. So in this case, this tile, which I just put out, it's a really good tile actually because it has the gargoyle, is going to get removed from the game. So it's out of here. And we're going to put a new tile out, and look, this is a level 2 tile. That means it's going to be a little bit tougher. And indeed, it has an ogre and 3 goblins protecting him. So that's going to be a tough little room. The second thing is, I have to choose the highest experience point ready monster. In this case, it's going to be one of my 2 zombies, because this guy's exhausted. He has to either attack a human or someone with the leaf skill. There's no way these zombies can get to my people with the leaf skill. Or, if he has melee, attack someone at +3. That could have been very, very bad for me. Fortunately, Bull is a human. She's my only human. So, at +1, I'm going to just have this zombie attack. Or I could have this zombie attack so that she's next to both of them, which can be helpful. But I think for now, I'm not going to need that because I should be getting her slash card. So, right, because the slash card, I'm allowed to look at my discard pile. There's no slash card in there. That's the slash card. So, yeah, I'm just going to have this zombie. Now, he has a 3 attack normally. +1 is 4. That could really hurt Bull. But if you remember, this zombie is still mad at Sonya. She scorned him. So he has -2 attack. So now he only has an attack of 2. Okay? She has only a defense of 1, but by this point I have finally drawn her evade card, so she just kind of wiggles out of the way, and she is okay. That zombie got nothing done. He's just thinking of Sonya, Sonya, Sonya. He's just trying to move Bull out of his way, not getting anything done. All right, so that was fortunate for us. Now I'm going to remember to pull this out so that I know what this is for next round. All right, so we have 1 cycle left. I didn't pull this off of here. We have just Bull left. So let's drop our cards. We didn't move this up, so I still can discard up to 4 cards. I have plenty of cards in my hand that Bull cannot play. By the way, here's the locate and disarm card. I really could have used that before for Bart. I knew where it was, I just didn't get to it. That would have been nice. He could have checked for that trap, but of course there was no trap, so it's okay. So I'm actually going to discard all of my cards because in this case, I don't have any cards that Bull can use in my hand. And she's my last character, so I'm going to dump them all. I'm going to draw this card. I know that's her card. And then I'm going to keep drawing up to 7. So in this case, because I have cards here and not here, I'm allowed to always just shuffle these. So now I'm going to draw up. I'm going to draw a lot of cards she can't use, of course, but hopefully I'll get to one that she can use. All right, so we activate Bull. Now, Bull can either take down that ogre, which will get me 3 experience points, or she can take down both of these zombies, which will only be a total of 2 experience points. And normally you'd think go for the 3 experience points. The thing is, that ogre's exhausted. He's not going to be too difficult to take down later, and it's hard to fight 2 people at the same time unless they happen to be surrounding you. But I've got her slash, and so I think it's time to finish off the zombies in that room. So the first thing I'm going to do is, I don't even need to actually, the only card I'm going to play is slash, the one that we played before. That's going to give her +1 attack and allow her to attack both zombies, assuming I'm in position. So for 2 speed, she's going to walk here. They're both in position, they're both adjacent to her, so she's going to do a 4 attack against each one. A 5 attack, because this gives +1 as well. And these guys have only a 1 defense and 3 health. So 5 is going to overwhelm them.
What is that?
That's their defense. Down here is a 1.
Lower.
The green number is their defense, and the yellow number is their health.
Okay.
So the armor protects him for 1. The other 4 go through. He's dead. And so is the other one, because she attacked them both because she slashed them. So she gets her little token back. They're both dead. So it's nice. We've cleared this out. and we'll see what happens. So we'll put these zombies over here. I get 2 experience points, so I'm pulling from the second pool. Now I've got 5 points. I can once again, I think I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm really hoping to get something exciting here. I don't need any of these other cards right now. And since I've got 5 points, which is at least as much as 4, I don't have to spend them, but it gives me the power to get rid of this Touch of Death, which is very expensive and a card I can't play. And I'm hoping for a card that I can play that's a little powerful. So, I pulled something very interesting here. I pulled the Golden Full Plate. Now that's a treasure, which means any of my characters can use it. It costs 4 experience. And I have 5. And basically, it's offensive and defensive. It gives that person +1 attack, which may not seem like much, but when you realize I can't play 2 of the same type of card, having a treasure that gives me +1 attack, melee or ranged, that can be really sweet. And on top of it, it absorbs 2 points of damage whenever that person's attacked. So this ends up being the perfect artifact for my group because I have a variety of melee and ranged characters. And I've got Sonya, who desperately needs some kind of protection and not a lot of healing. So this is going to be the card for me. So I take this card, I spend 4 experience points. Down they go, leaving me with just 1 left. We replace it. The new card is another treasure, and it's a pet. It's a treasure and a pet. So I have the Helm of Guidance, which is good with pets. So it's a big iron golem. So this is a really awesome card that I hope to be able to draft in the future. So we'll put it here for now. Now it's bad guy turn. The first thing that happens is the first tile, the one on the left, goes away. That's the last level 1 tile, so that's out of here. So we're going to replace it with another level 2 tile. And this one has a satyr and a minotaur, so this is a pretty rough little room. There's definitely going to be entering some pretty tough times coming up ahead. Then I have to have a ready monster attack. I don't have any ready monsters to attack. I only have 1 monster and he's exhausted, which means I have to do the otherwise. And this is a real bummer for me because the otherwise in this case is to take 1 experience point and flip it face down. So now I don't lose this point, but now I cannot spend that point. Now that gets us to the end of the round, and just like last time, we're going to take these characters and we're going to stick them back on top. We're going to flip over our ogre so he's ready once again. No one has any poison this time. The only person who's really taken a beating is Sonya. She really got pounded by that ogre. She's half dead over here. I mean, she won't die, but she'll be knocked out, and I lose experience points, and it's hard to get her up again when I don't have healing. So definitely we got to do something about that ogre. But nobody has any poison at least, so nobody gets worse. And then I take all of these cards and I discard them, just like before. Now in my hand, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's my maximum hand size, except I forgot when I drafted my little golden full plate that now my hand size has gone up to 8 cards. So you can see we reward you for drafting cards because we found out during playtesting that sometimes it was worth it not to draft cards to guarantee certain combos. So we wanted to reward you for drafting cards because it becomes risky when you draft a lot of cards because you don't get certain combos as easily. So when you're drawing lots of cards, it increases your power to be able to get those combos. So now I've got 8 cards in my hand once again, and I would normally be ready for the 3rd round, but we're going to end the demo here. Know that there's 2 more rounds to go. We did pretty good. There's 9 rooms in this dungeon. We've opened up, there's the one that we start in, so we've opened up half of them. We still have this ogre here, but he's not feeling great. And these rooms are going to have some really powerful guys, but I'm also really powerful. You can see in just 2 rounds the kinds of abilities that my characters have gained. In these last 2 rounds, they're going to get really super heroic. You're going to see people running around in golden full plate and doing all kinds of fun things. In these last 2 rounds, we'll really have a lot of fun stuff going on. But we're going to stop here. You can leave it to your imagination how this group does. We had a pretty good game. For me to open up the last of these rooms in the time that I have left is going to be risky, so I'm going to lose some points. But I will count up for you how many points I did earn during the game, which I would normally do. So I've got, flip these all up, which is what you normally do at the end of the game. And I've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Which is not a particularly high score. And normally I would lose a point because he's still here. And of course, I lose points for each of these, but we have 2 more rounds. At the end of the game, hopefully I've opened up at least 2 or 3 more of those tiles. At the end of the game, I'm going to lose 4 points for every tile that's left in here and in here. However, at least a couple more of those are going to go away from the solo play deck. But there's still 4 more tiles that have to be explored here. Each one that doesn't make it into this map is going to cost me 4 points. So I have to keep opening up these doors. The game puts a lot of pressure on you. There's no relaxation. You're in a dungeon, you have this time pressure, and we want to make sure that you feel the time pressure all of the time, that you have a limited amount of time to come in here, clear out the dungeon before dawn, because once dawn comes, you have to leave. All right, that concludes our demo for this solo play gameplay. I think it gives you a good idea of kind of how you're working your team together. If you're playing with other players, we wouldn't have this deck of solo play cards. We'd be using the monsters against each other and being as mean as we possibly can to each other so that we can activate their special powers. But for solo play, we make up for the fact that we have some control over the monsters by giving them bonuses +1, +2, +3, or bringing them back from being exhausted as a way to compensate for the fact that we're playing solitaire, to make it a much more difficult and rich experience. All right, that concludes our demo. Thank you very much for watching.